Yo, 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 yo. Welcome and welcome and welcome. Thank y'all for tuning in to huh, the 100, the 133rd episode of the Earn Your Face show.
Yay.
and I'm and I'm here with my good friend, my main man, Mr. Thomas Edward. How you doing, brother?
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. What's
Very
going on?
appreciable. Doing fine, doing awesome, doing awesome. I had to butcher up, I had to butcher up that intro right there real quick, but it's all right.
Oh,
but
it
but
works.
it's all right. It's okay. so you know, you know, upon today, man, I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and I'm trying to work with you. About your book, about your novel, Enter the Alex Xavier, right?
Enter Alex Xavier. Yeah.
Enter Alex Xavier, right? Okay.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
It's a science fiction novel about superheroes, which is not really the norm for books, but decided to have a little bit of an interesting twist on writing a story, which I really wasn't planning on doing. I'd always at one point thought growing up I would end up wanting to get into comic books one way or another. I drew as a kid, but had problems growing up with my hands because I'm severely double jointed, and my hands would end up hurting after a while, and it just got to where okay, I'm not going to do it anymore. And then later on, uh, it all started when my son had to write a short story in school. And my daughters wanted to write stories, and I just thought, oh, okay, I'll just do something with them. And so I took characters I created decade a decade or two before that and decided to just start coming up with ideas, and it evolved into putting it down on paper and eventually became what is book one in the Project Hero saga, Enter Alex Xavier.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, Enter Alex Xavier. So tell us a little bit about the synopsis. What do you feel? What do you think about that? What's your niche on it?
So it is about a government program that is run to create the next generation of superheroes to go on to the government's big superhero team, the United. And Project Hero is the training grounds for that. Kind of the way to relate that is if the X-Men were run by the government to make the next superheroes from the X-Men go to the Avengers. That's kind of the way you could look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book takes place with Alex Xavier making it to the top level of Project Hero and the events that happen afterwards. And so it's book one of seven about what the events of the whole series. Alex Xavier is kind of a main focal point, but it is very broad. There's many more heroes, many more villains. There's a lot going on, so it doesn't just singularly focus on him, but it does show what happens with this program and the events that kind of sort of in a way come about from what happened decades ago that created Project Hero, and it all comes to an a head in book seven. And so book one, Alex Xavier gets there, has to get acquainted with everybody, and even though he has friends that are there, uh, things that they do to enhance their powers can take away memories. So people he
Mm-hmm.
was friends with, he has to re-get acquainted with them as friends because they're constantly looking to enhance everybody's abilities, make the biggest, most grand hero, and so then he has to get reacquainted with them, earn their trust, work with them, become a part of the team, and then go out on missions and fight the bad guys.
Hmm. That is a good way to go about that. That is a good story. Great story actually. So you know, about the who is Alex Xavier? Who is he? Based off of, or what is he based off of?
Alex Xavier is actually the young version of a character I created when I was a teenager. A friend and I we wanted to get into role playing games, but neither of us were big into Dungeons and Dragons. So we heard about a game called Heroes and Villains and Vigilantes, which was kind of the
Hmm.
sister game to it if you liked Heroes. Um, and then his name is Greg, and he came across a game called Champions, which was pretty much the same, except it had one cool element. You had sheets, it had outlines, and you could draw your own characters. And so we
Mm.
started creating characters, and one of them is the character that is Alex Xavier. His name is Dredd, Dread. So different than Judge Dredd, Dredd. And that character is what I eventually went back to do his story of how he became what would eventually be one of the greatest heroes in my universe, starting from when he made it to the top level of Project Hero. And so he's an old character kind of re-brought back, and a lot of the characters that are in there, probably 60 to 70% of the characters are from people I had a long time ago. And still have a bunch of those drawings. So I still have the original drawing of Dredd from 1984. So
Mm.
I can show. I think I posted a long time ago a bunch of them, like Booby Trap. I have a picture of what she used to look like. Um, Sickness, what he used to look like, which is kind of corny 80s ish because that's when I was doing it. So the costume looked a little weird. But
Ah,
but a lot of the characters come from um, stuff that I had done a long time ago. Unfortunately, I did lose a bunch of those drawings because they got ruined when there was a flooding at one point. But for whatever reason, I was lucky, and the one of Dread did not get destroyed. So I still have that with me, and I can still. And I'm gonna use that drawing further in the book for him to start when he has to wear a regular, real costume to present himself as a hero, but then modify it because the design is really old and truly needs to be updated. But I'm gonna still use that, and so it'll be cool to see. Well, cool to read, not see, because I got a novel. But at some point, maybe we can see if I can do like graphic novels. I'd like to work on a few things, and it would be nice to do that within the next few years, hopefully.
mm. That's right. That's right. So, what is it like being a novelist? What was the transition from? What was the transition like from comics on to being a novelist?
Uh, I had no idea what I was doing. It was
Wow.
weird. I loved comics. I knew a bit of writing because I used to write poetry. I would just write random, like even stuff that could be translated into songs and worked into songs. Um, but my writing, I was very familiar with Chris Claremont because I was a huge Wolverine fan. So
Me too.
being me,
I love Wolverine too.
so being such a Claremont fan, um, I kind of got my writing ideas from him on how to craft a story out. Um, it's not the same thing. Comics and novels aren't nearly the same thing, but it was how he could take stories, and in particular the old ones, it seemed like a story could take 6, 8, 10 issues without being a four-parter. Like now it's part one of
Hmm.
whatever, part one of. Back then you could write and just keep that story going because there was a lengthy story to it, and it didn't have to start and end at a point, and it felt like there was a progression. And so I kind of used that on how I could do the novel. But the problem was is when I did the novel, the first time I wrote through and I got about halfway through. And then I wrote I actually finished the last chapter first because I knew what I wanted the end of the book to be. Wrote through the first part of the book, and come to find out, halfway through the book, I was at almost 480 pages.
Damn.
And yeah, it was a wake-up call where I had quite a few people say, no, you can't do that as a first-time novelist. You gotta cut that down. You had to even, I was even told I need to cut the half I had in half, and which is what I did. So it was 236 pages, and I had to rework the ideas to what I initially wanted, because everything I wanted to do was just too grand, and in some ways like Claremont would do with having, like the whole Hellfire Club and that whole storyline, and with Dark Phoenix, and how it took so many. I did that same thing with mine, just so many pages, so far out, and not realizing that that's it's grand and big, but it doesn't have to be so big. You can have it in smaller segments. And that's one thing Claremont was great about, is he could have 6, 8, 10 issues, and they would all have a connection to it in a longer story, but in smaller segments. And it took me 2005. I started. My son had his project. I started coming up with the ideas. 2 years of putting stuff down on paper, because I just started to write stuff down. From 2007, it was about 2011 or 12 when I actually paid for an editor to go through, edit, and do everything, and said to cut it down, redo it, and change everything. So about 4 or 5 years of doing that, and then I had to change it all up. And then that brought it down into something more manageable, which even then, as something smaller, people, when reading it, felt like a good length for it. So
Right.
So that's what I want to continue to aim for, even though I'm afraid that when I keep going with the stories, they're going to keep getting longer and longer, because of trying to put this stuff in, and trying to make it feel epic, which is one thing that Claremont, with the old X-Men issues, which I've got and just still enjoy, they all felt epic. Like the stuff from growing up, just, I don't know, there's something about it that felt a bit more epic. And in some comics today, I pick them up and I don't get that same feeling. And I don't know if it's just me and I'm not as interested, but that's one thing I hope, is I want everything to feel epic when I do it. And
Right.
Hopefully it comes off that way. If it doesn't, then I want to catch it beforehand and then change it, rework it. I want it to feel big. Like for me, for movies, the first 3 Lord of the Rings movies felt so epic. And as far as a movie goes, that kind of thing when you're watching it, or, when, again, I'll go back. Particularly for me, it was Wolverine's first miniseries in 1982. Those 4 issues, that's the single best story of anything I've ever read, watched, or anything. Those 4 issues. And it just felt bigger than life. And that's what I hope everything I touch does. I'm not sure it all will. I will do whatever I can to achieve that. Hopefully, if somebody says, it needs a little bit of something, then I can add it to it to make it feel big, feel grand, feel, when you get done, that it's like, wow, that was so awesome. Because that was the feeling that I loved as a kid, and disappoints me at times when I go. Particularly, I'm a bit of a movie snob TV snob on stuff. If I don't get that wow even on an episode to episode, I get bored.
Uh,
And so I hope I can translate that, and hopefully my books come off that way. And if I do other projects and other things, hopefully I've got an idea for a comic book that I've thought would be really funny and cool for a long time. It's a parody thing, a kooky thing, but also a little bit dark. You know, hopefully I can get into trying that. See how much. I know it's going to be a lot of work. I'm sure you could tell everybody how much Jarhead has been as far as work. So
Jarhead has been. Oh my God, it's worked me to half the death to get that thing out, man. Whew. Like, cause
yeah,
if you put in the work, and you put in the time, the reason why Jarhead came out so well is because I spent so much time perfecting it. Because it's like this: your first project is going to be your first and last, if you really look at it. Make that your first impression. It can make or break you. And
yeah,
so I learned that from a veteran in the business. I learned that from somebody that actually was doing what I was doing. And, his name is Javier Lugo. He was one of my mentors
oh,
in
really,
the, he was one of my mentors in my younger years as a comic artist or in the comic field. And he allowed me to study up under him, and he almost did some artwork for, actually he did the uh original artwork for not Jarhead, for Demented Deuce, my villain, the villain of the Jarhead story, the actual first one. um he did the original art, and it came out cool. It came out looking like the 80s version of Magneto, looking like it, and he's somewhat like Magneto, but he's more, how can I say, more um like basically, what's that word? What's that word? Ticking time bomb, and he's more of a calculated type of villain, what I mean? And he's more demented than Joker, what I mean? So he has those elements to him, and that comes into play with Jarhead's life because that's his uncle. So shares Jarhead shares a lot of what his uncle is. Very ticking time bomb, very calculated, very demented in a way. But Jarhead is more of in a good way, a good part of why I did what I did, because I did that because of the experiences I've experienced in my life, and yeah, a lot of that came from, a lot of experiences I experienced in my life, yeah, but as you said about your characters, a lot of those characters come from your life, come from the experiences, the things that you've been through, the things that you've done, and a lot of those come from your bad side, your good side, your evil side, your you know what I'm saying? And a
yeah,
lot of those, some people actually also do characters from their depression, from their depressive state. Some do it from their suicidal state. Some, and the thing about it is that they shouldn't come from that state of mind, and you shouldn't have to go through that state of mind to get those characters. But most of the time, and sometimes, that's what happens when you do that. And a lot of people are very, very dark when it comes to, very, 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 very dark when it comes to all that stuff, and but hey, Miss Sandra, how are you? How are you, mama? Sister. Mama, sister, how are you? Yeah, I'm feeling good, having good. This lady is a very inspirational person in my life. She is the coolest lady. She's actually a director,
oh
and she
wow,
is, yes, she's a producer, director. She actually does her own movies, And man, she's so great at what she does, and I hope to maybe have her as a director as on one of my movies. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome,
Well,
and I can't wait.
well, you got a little material for something called Jarhead that maybe she wants to tackle, possibly.
Possibly, you never know what happened. We could work. But I mean, with that state of situation, um, a lot of those characters that I've been talking about, I'm here for you too, my miss. I'm here for you too, Miss Sandra. What's up, Imani? What's up, bro? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody, big bro? Yeah, man. With your characters that you're putting out, a lot of those characters, what you should do is basically make stories for them, right? And let them grow. You know what I mean? Because if you really look at it like this, like every character that you make, hold it in the back of your head, so that like find a spot in all your books, all your stories. Have a spot for them, right? And make it like a family tree. Everybody knows everybody in your neighborhood. Say like
Right,
I know you lived in a small neighborhood and everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew
right.
everybody's business. It's just like the hood. Everybody knows everybody. Every
Hmm.
fucking body knows everybody. You can't do nothing without Felicia knowing what you're doing. You can't even breathe without John watching your room, watching everything you're doing. So by the time you get done with that, the whole neighborhood is going to know. And and Benzdale, my neighborhood in the hood in New Camden, New Jersey, is broke up in three sections. Three sections. Three. So North Camden, South Camden, and East Camden. So a lot of those sections, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody. You cannot say that you don't know them because you're going to eventually know them. You know what I'm saying? Because that is Camden. So, you know what I mean? You're going to eventually bump into somebody that knows that person. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think that you should do, because it's like this. Because you can bounce one character off of another. You know what I mean? And help. It's like if you work, it's like income. You know what I'm saying? Like two different streams of income. While you're working on one stream of income, you could be using that one stream of income to build the other one, and use that as income to build the other one, and
Yeah,
have those streams of income pouring into that big stream of income that will take care of every income that you've built before that. So that way you'll have a fountain of incomes feeding off of each other.
yeah,
So what you
yeah.
think? What's your thoughts? See how I put that together?
It,
See how I put that together?
it was it was great.
Well,
That's why you're the king.
well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm the king, baby, the king. Thank you, thank you. But oh yes, Amani, man, yeah, I'm trying to get you on the show, trying to show you some love, man. You know how it is. You know how we get down, baby. You know how we do it. But you know, I so tell us about this knighthood, you know, character, what you've been working on.
So I got selected to try and write a script for. Initially, it was supposed to be an adult cartoon called for a character called Knighthood, and over talking with Terry Hall, who's the creator of it, come up with a little bit of an idea for a character that was a bit unique and trying to I want to try and stay away from. I mean, you can't get away. Everybody's going to have their own Superman. There's just no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
But can you
Yep.
do? But can you do a character and make it individual enough that it's not the same? Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want Knighthood. Uh, the basics of it is it's a somewhat Batman style character, but I didn't want him to come off as being Batman. Is there a way we
Right.
can
Right.
do something more with it? And I got lucky on making the comment that I wished The Dark Knight was actually dark. And that's nothing, and it's nothing against Frank Miller. Great comic book series. Love the Dark Knight series, but what if you could take a character and really twist him? And Terry liked the idea, gave me an opportunity to try and write what was essentially going to be the episode one for a very adult cartoon, which then got kind of morphed into a possible live action television show with a guy who essentially doesn't have a problem putting bullets in people and doesn't have a problem. Well, I think it's just in general because of the nature of the show and that it's probably going to have to go to streaming that, there's going to be cussing and swearing with it too. But the character is going to be not very nice and doesn't care about leaving bodies, which, depending on what happens with the rest of the series after episode one, we'll see, whether or not decide to deal with that or not. That's all going to be figured out with the story. So did the first one, got approval, got submitted. Sam Fox Films is taking that on, and they haven't come back, haven't said anything different about the entire episode. Usually from what I've read, usually they'll say, can we change this? What about this? What about this? Apparently it's all been loved, no changes. Episode one in, done, and they took it.
Right.
So hopefully that means something good for continuing on and trying to do, 6 episodes to start with.
Man, best luck to you, bro. Hey, stuff happens, right? We'll see what happens, man. You see what happens, man. I hope that it turns out fine. You never know. You never know what can happen. It's, God bless you. I think that Red Knighthood is a cool character. I think it's something that needs some developing. With the right eyes behind it, could well be the next Batman. You never know. You just never know.
I don't want the next Batman. See, that's with the characters that I have. I do have a few different characters that have similarities to, like, I had my own Superman, which unfortunately DC kind of, I don't know how to introduce my character into my books because my version of Superman is Russian, and they did the Red Sun. So now I'm still going to do it, but I have to make sure I have it done because I don't want that you copy, even though you kind of can't get away.
That's just
Marvel has Sentry, Image has Supreme, Valiant had the Visitor. Even DC has Shazam or the original Captain Marvel. So everybody has one. I just want it to come off as, even though it's Russian like DC's Red Sun, that he's an original Russian antagonist of his own kind. But
right.
I tried to create, and especially with Alex Xavier, and I don't know how much through the series you truly get to explain the differences from him, because what's going on with him is so unique and so different. I don't know there's anything ever like it, and I don't know if I entirely want to divulge or make it clear what's going on, because if I could have my wish, I'd like to do 7 books, a 3-book prequel that shows the events that happened in New York where there was a detonation of a nuclear weapon with the after effects and all of that, and a couple of one-off books, and maybe, hopefully, the follow-up, which would be 7 books on top of that. So in total, I would be looking at a possibility of, got 3 of 17, 21 books, possibly.
Well, and that's an ongoing series, and that's fine. And what I was going to tell you before too, bro, that's what a lot of people said about Jarhead. He's like another Zangief, or he reminds me of a Punisher, such and such and such. But although they may have all those characters, you got to find what makes your character unique. He could be Russian. He could speak African. He could do all of that. He could be something similar to Superman. Like, bro, and I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of those characters didn't make the cut for one reason. They just didn't make the cut because it wasn't unique enough. You know what I'm saying? They didn't. How can you explain the fact Shazam, all those characters? Look how they didn't make no money. Superman make money, right? Superman make money because they pushed it down people's throats. You can't go nowhere without Superman being down your throat. You know what I'm saying? You can't go nowhere without Spider-Man or Batman being down your throat. So I would use their tactics and put it down their throat. You know what I'm saying? And they don't have no other way. They don't have no other way but to see your shit down their throat. Think about it. If you market it as what you want to market it, and you make it unique, and market it so crazy that they have no other choice but to acknowledge you and see your character for what it is as unique.
Yeah.
Make it so that they can't breathe without seeing your character. That's what I did. They ain't got no other choice but to see it.
And you do have a unique character. You have honestly, which, in this day and age of a lot of similar characters, you do have a unique one, which that's cool. I hope more people get to see, and you can get it out there. You do believe where are you as far as book 2?
Book 2, man. Book 2 is a trip. I'm gonna tell you why. Because book 2 is very challenging, because I'm working on something very big with book 2, and I'll tell you why. Book 2 have a lot of twists and turns, a lot of loopholes, a lot of holes that I'm filling in. A lot of answers need to be answered, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you a little taste of what book 2 is going to present to you. You can potentially see the actual battle that happened in heaven. The battle that happened in heaven before humanity even existed. You're able to see and depict it, where all the angels and demons is fighting, right? And Jarhead is right there watching everything, right? Watching how the war happens, right? And who is viewing this to him? Who is standing right next to him? His own self. Think about it. His own self. Meaning the angel that is standing right next to him is his angelic form, basically. He hasn't become one with that form yet, because he don't know who he is at now. He's in heaven, but he's met God, but he hasn't found his true purpose of who he is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as he finds his true purpose of who he is, that is when the actual physical Jarhead and the spiritual Jarhead, the angelic Jarhead, is going to come into one, and that is how Jarhead is going to get to his rarest form of Jarhead, the hero. Jarhead is just at this time for book 1, Jarhead is just a character that has PTSD, seen a lot of killing, seen the actual scene of his parents dead, killed, You know what I mean? He's actually seen the scene while they was getting all the investigating and all the autopsy and all that stuff. He's seen the actual scene of his whole parents dead. But here's the kicker: people didn't know that his mother was pregnant with Jarhead's brother. His father didn't know. He didn't know. Demented Deuce took his brother away from him, away from his mother before he killed her.
Ooh.
Before he killed her,
Mm.
and Jarhead don't even know he has a brother. Jarhead don't even know, and God didn't tell him he had a brother because God wants him to learn who he is before he even tells him all of that stuff. Because before, you know how like when you get told something and you don't want to hear it, but
Oh, yeah.
when you get told it, you're like, damn, and it messes you up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're like, damn,
Yeah.
you don't know how to accept it.
Yeah.
That's how Jarhead is. Jarhead is a very emotional character, but he's also sensitive. But he's rough around the edges because he's been backstabbed, he's been betrayed, he's been picked on, he's been bullied all his life. Because he was lighter than all the people that he was around his whole life. His dad was a lawyer, but also his dad was a pimp. And that is why Demented Deuce was mad because he knew his whole background before he became a lawyer and he became a man of God. You know what I'm saying? Before he was a lawyer. Well, yeah, he changed his life. You know what I mean? Before he became a lawyer and everything, and he mocks God and along the way. You'll see in a synopsis that everything that I put together, it's it's all a ball of greatness that I'm putting together. You may not understand it now, but trust me, I got something. I got a ball of greatness that I'm forming in the Collision of the Colossus. You see that green cover that I put up with the guy in the dreads and Jarhead shooting the big Gatling gun.
Yeah. 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 Now I.
That is one of the covers of the Collision of the Colossus. That is actually a small book, a small action sequel. Nothing but action and a little bit of talking, but it's nothing but action. It's a small book, like 15 pages, 15 to 10 pages of nothing but action and nothing but that whole scene of Jarhead kicking ass and getting his ass kicked by one of his best friends. And his name is Smash X. And I've shown you a character who he is, but also it's showing you who Jarhead is as well. You know, and he comes to save his friend along the way. The synopsis is where Jarhead is chasing after Demented Deuce through the hallway of this cloning lab, and he runs and he sees his room, big ass room, and he sees his friend in this tank with full of water, and he has a mask, and he's sedated, and he's in it, all tanks around him filled with creatures that looks just like the Smash X, but see, Smash X is its own entity. You can't like you can't clone what he is because he's unclonable. He's his own beast, and that's the way God made him. You know what I mean? And see, also too, if you go all the way back into the Bible, Smash X is actually the grandson of what's his name? The one that got his hair cut off, lost his powers.
Samson.
Samson. He's the grandson of Samson.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and Smash X is a Hebrew, and Samson was a Hebrew, and he his powers was was uh was basically he took on the powers of his grandpa, and that's how he became like overpowered and beastly and all that stuff because he took on the powers and the anointing of his grandfather. God made the covenant with him, but God didn't tell him that beast was going to form out of him. So his nails and why he looked so mean and monstrous is because he was hybrid form, molted and transformed into a hybrid. You know what I'm saying? And the way I did this is I wanted to be unique with these characters that I was building because when you build characters like that, when you transform all your characters and you go deep into your mind. See, when I created a Demented Deuce, I had to go deeper into the dark place for my character, Demented
Yeah.
Deuce. I had to if I wanted to, and if I wanted to come out with a great character. Now that I came out with it, woo, the world better be ready because he is about to cause havoc. And
Wow.
I don't know if a lot of people have seen Demented Deuce, but nobody has seen what I'm capable of when it comes to my writing skills because I really haven't put much out yet. But a lot of people ask me to do a lot of collaborations, but me collaborating,
Collaborating.
me collaborating with people right now. I don't see myself doing that at the moment because I'm building my universe. I'm
Yeah.
building my galaxy, and right now, um, we can actually do a cross universe where I can put you on a poster, put your characters on the posters and all that stuff. I don't mind doing that,
Yeah.
but collaborating and helping people build their stuff and redoing their characters,
No.
kind of hard for me to do that because I can't focus on other people's without focusing on mine.
Yeah.
But
And your stuff is important. You get out Jarhead 1. I mean, do you have a length that you want to go? Like, for my novel series, 7 books, 3-book prequel. I got numbers. Do you have a number in mind for your series, or are you just going to let it go and see how far the journey and how far out the journey goes?
it's gonna go far. I'm gonna tell you why. Because there's so many dimensions that I have been exposed to that I have to put out. I have to get out, and I have to expose the naked eye to the people. People have to see this. They have to like those with ears let them hear, and those with eyes let them see. What I mean by that, those who need to see it, those who supposed to hear it, will hear it and see it. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing because it's going to potentially save the world and lives as I do this. As I do this show, it saves lives and it changing the world as we speak. It may not be getting the way I want it to get, but it's doing things that not many see right now. But you'll
Yeah.
see sooner or later. But as I said, enough about me. I've been talking so much. I don't want to talk about myself right now because it's about you, brother, and I don't want to
Well,
talk
that's
about myself.
well, it's still fun. I enjoy I enjoy anybody I talk to. I enjoy their stuff. So if I get to hear about it, it's and maybe other people don't hear enough about me, but I enjoy hearing about your stuff. So you know, give us a
Well, I got an
preview so
idea.
we can enjoy a little bit of Jarhead.
I got an idea. I got an idea. How about okay? How about you ask questions? I ask questions. How about that? You ask me a
Okay.
question. I ask you a question.
Oh,
Questions.
we can do that.
You
We're
know,
gonna have some.
what's
We're
your
gonna have some
questions?
good
I
ones.
answer all of them. I answer all of them. I don't care. Fuck it. Talk to me. Ask me
Uh,
any questions you like about any Jarhead or whatever.
uh, favorite character of all time on any platform or media?
I have three of them. I have three. I have three. Of course, it's Wolverine. That's the only thing really I like about Marvel. Um, uh, also on media, I like John Wick. He's an ass kicker. Love John
Yeah,
Wick.
yeah.
And
That was part of what I used a little bit for because love the movies. I will turn off the sound just to watch the action. So I used a little bit
uh,
of that when I was doing the script writing because it's just so cool to watch just the action.
right, right.
Love John Wick.
Um, Spawn. Love Spawn and Punisher. Punisher. That's where I get Jarhead. That's where he gets his killer instinct from. Punisher. He likes to see Jarhead is the judgment of God upon the wicked. He's a judgment angel. So he passes judgment upon the wicked. So if he sees evil things that's being done, or anything that God sees wickedness that's being done, he will cast his judgment upon it. But if there's any righteous men amongst the wickedness, he will let it slide, or you know what I mean by let it slide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let it slide. So if there's any righteous men amongst the wicked, he'll let them go past. But if you don't find any righteous men amongst the wicked, he will cast judgment upon them. So it's
Yeah.
so you deal with that. You think about that, like, okay, you know, a lot of people a lot of people get that as the angel Spawn or Punisher. No, mm-mm. Because a lot of those characters, like they could only, most of them are limited. Jarhead is unlimited. He could be evil, he could be good, but he chooses to
Yeah.
be good because that's what he was meant to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's an anti-hero. He don't take it as, you know what I mean? So a lot of people are not, when I'm developing him to appeal to the masses. He's not just going to appeal to black folks. He's not going to just appeal to white folks. He's going to appeal to everybody because everybody has a piece of Jarhead in them.
Yeah.
Everybody has a piece of Jarhead in them, even the wicked.
Yeah. And that's what you
What
need
else
to
you
do.
got?
That's what you need when you're doing it. You need to go out without like I don't like when there's pushing of agendas. Like
Mm-mm.
write something for the entertainment purpose of it so
Mm-hmm.
that people just come away going, I was entertained. If you're starting to
Mm-hmm.
throw out messages like that, become a talk show and start promoting your own. Don't write whether it's comic books, television shows, movies. I want to be entertained for entertained and just leave all that stuff out. Give me a good
Yeah.
story.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what a lot of people in comics are clamoring about. But see, that's the kicker. Not everybody is getting what they want. Like that's why you hear people say comics is dying. The comic book world is dying. We're not dying. It's just you have the big two or the big five and fours, Dark Horse, Image, all those people, Marvel, DC, all those comic book companies are not giving you anything much, but the same stories over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, did you know that
And then,
Marvel? Did you know that Marvel actually messed up the market for comic books? They fucked it up on purpose because they bought all this stuff and their stuff. Did you know that comics were supposed to be like $10 a pop, $10 a book, $10, $20, $15, $11, whatever. But now they made it so that comic books are worthless nowadays. $1, $3, $4. It shouldn't be like that because Marvel actually messed up that market.
really?
That's why you see a lot of people don't make a lot of money off of their stuff because Marvel messed it up for everybody.
See, for
And
me,
DC.
Where's my light? My dumb light. My light went out. Oh, come on, people.
Hope it didn't break on you.
No. So, super bright. All right, there we go. Yeah, so I got a light and it's USB powered, so I'm powering it with through my laptop, and the laptop has to be powered, and I have it near me, so I unplugged the laptop unknowingly, and the laptop battery drained down, so then it shut itself off. So I had to plug it back in so the light could power, so I could actually show up on your screen.
Well, I tell you, it works. I mean,
I gotta get this whole thing figured out. If I want to try and do fun comic book related videos and give my thoughts on like who I think are good actors for characters and what movies are good comic book movies and stuff like that. I want to do some videos and stuff like that. So I've been trying to get this whole thing figured out with the lights and how the cameras. I even figured out that I'm used to taking pictures with my phone like this, and I didn't realize that so I started initially having the phone wrong. So my videos were weird because nobody holds their phone straight up anymore when you take video and pictures. Why do you do that? Well, it still does it for online, and I didn't know that, so had to learn that. But hopefully, I can get this all figured out, and I'd like to put out some interesting videos and do some of that along with trying to do more. I think I've only done one podcast related to my book, but regular job and life and trying to get the final touches on editing and reviewing my second book, and so it's harder getting it out there and trying to get I do a little bit of stuff with my YouTube channel, but lately it's been more of just videos of the Comic Cons and book fairs and some of the toy hunts and stuff that I've done, so at least keeping a little bit of that out there here and there.
This is very understandable, very, very structural to be understand.
Yeah.
That's why I say do something unique. Don't worry about what people say because everybody's going to say what they want.
Yeah.
I would say do something unique, more on the lines of, I don't know. There's so much stuff you can do out there, man.
Yeah.
So much stuff.
Go ahead. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of that content out there.
Hell yeah.
I just don't know if people will see certain aspects of certain things. Like, you know, when you talk about who are the best actors and best and worst actors for parts and roles, and you bring up this person and that person and the reasons why, people might not even know that one of the reasons why this person was bad for a role is they've never read comic books and have no idea who the character they were even portraying.
Right, right.
Like,
Right.
and that's where one of the things when it becomes star power, it's like, well, okay, fine, but you know, when you like with you, and it'll be the same with me when we have our characters. I'm sure that you have in your head somebody who has a very good representation of what Jarhead. So if you were to cast somebody, you have an
Mm-hmm.
idea of who that person might be really good to portray them. And same
I
with
do.
me. And I just I found it interesting about quite a few different people that, you know, these people are terrible and it was just star power
Right.
rather than the fact that you've got a great character who is this amazing person who would be the perfect, almost real life representation of them.
I mean, I would say because for my care, from on my side, I already know who I want to cast as Jarhead. I already know. I already have the thought in my mind already. His name, he used to, he won strongman. He won the strongest man in the strongman contest. World's most strongest man. Um, he's from Iceland. What's his name? Ben Jorg. I forget his name is, but he played Mountain, the Mountain on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, yeah, he's one of the people that I thought would be perfect for one of my characters, just because I needed somebody who was just insanely massive, and
Hmm.
he has that thought for me that he would be one of those people.
Yeah, you know, when I thought of him as Jarhead, it just came. It came to me like like when I had a vision of Jarhead. Like it came to me like Zangief did, like in the form of Zangief, the way Zangief would talk, right?
Yeah,
But Zangief don't is not Zangief is a wrestler. Jarhead is a mercenary. He don't play them wrestling games. He'll beat your ass up. You know, he gonna kill your ass. He's not gonna dunk you in your head. He's gonna rip your head off.
yeah,
That's just Jarhead. And Jarhead is a angel, so he has the Nephilim DNA in his blood. You know, so he's a giant. You know, and he towers over people massively. You know, whenever he was in, because I always I wrote the story. I wrote the story when I was in college. When I was in college, I wrote the story. I've been working on this story for 17 years.
wow,
Yeah, yeah, 17 years. Um, I've been doing this book. I've been writing the story for 17, but doing the book for 12. Let's really look at it, you know. And I wrote part of this story where Jarhead goes to Russia, and he gets bullied by a lot of the Russian kids over there in Russia because he doesn't look like none of them. He doesn't look like a Russian. He looks more black than anything. He's light skinned. You know what I'm saying? People may seem like that. They look at him like, oh, he's a white dude. No, mm-mm. He's light skinned. A light skinned. Like he, and that's why he got made fun of.
yeah,
If you really look at it, over in Russia, they hate black folks. So that's why he got made fun of, and because he was tall, he was big as a bear. monster. You know what I'm saying? He could take on a bear if he wanted to. And that's the type of massive type of beast he is.
Mhm.
And the reason why I made him like that is because you don't have a big character being the face of any company. You don't. You don't have a monster. You have all those puny, skinny little characters being the face of a company. Spider Man, Batman and Superman, puny. Like they're not really big, you know.
Wolverine,
Uh,
even though
well,
Hugh Jackman ruined that for. Sorry, guys. One of my big pet peeves is Hugh Jackman is a foot taller than Wolverine. Wolverine is a puny little runt. And yeah, small little guy facing.
Wolverine is actually 4 foot tall. 4 foot.
He's listed in uh, the Marvel handbook as 5'2",
That's
which
short.
Hugh Jackman is 6'2".
Hmm.
How does that? This is okay. So that's one of the things about where I have my pet peeves about people being in roles. Hugh Jackman did not fit the role. It was star power.
Yeah, and he actually grew into the character, grew into the role. Um,
Yeah.
as he went into the role, he actually grew into it. He made like I can't see nobody else playing. Well, I can see somebody else playing him, but I can't see nobody embodying that character like he did. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
I maybe I'm living in the past, and I'm living in the '80s when Wolverine was, and that's one of the things is a lot of characters I actually like are jerks, but
uh huh,
the one time I actually from any of the movies that I thought you had an actual interpretation of Wolverine was Logan.
yeah,
That that should have been him in every single movie. And then Logan, he should have been even worse. Because at that point,
hmm
when it's old man Logan, he's just he's just the most miserable person. But
hmm
I mean, for as much as I enjoyed enough that it was, this is my character I love being on screen. I thought just finally with Logan, I was like, okay, I'm at peace. This was good. I'm fine. I got my grumpy character. I got my annoyed little pissed off guy who just in a lot of ways doesn't like life and is like, oh, I'm done. Finally, I got it. I was happy.
well, I mean, see, if you really look at it, the one character or one person I say could play Logan, could play Wolverine is what's that guy's name? The one that played in Mad Max, the leading character, leading role.
Oh, Mel Gibson.
Not Mel Gibson. Not Mel Gibson. He played what is that movie he played in? Oh, he always have a cigar in his mouth. Ah, fuck.
Let me try to think.
He played in Mad Max. He played in the actual the one that came out. Mad Max, the actual movie, Mad Max. They got the game out
I'd
at that.
I'd have to think back.
Um, I forget what it's called, but if they really, if they really wanted to make Logan, really wanted to make Hugh Jackman the real Wolverine, they could have bulked him up a little bit more. Bulked
Yeah,
him up a
that's a
little bit more.
yeah.
They could have like put some more hair on his face, made him more hairier. Because Wolverine
Yeah,
was more
yeah,
hairier, and he was more his hair was more longer
yeah.
too,
It,
and
it came out, went back. Even at times, it almost. it almost embodied his mask. It was so long and swept out.
Yeah.
There was more to it than, and I know that's a whole thing. That, I mean, if you can make somebody have claws that have no representation of the actual character's claws, because you can do what you want to do something that makes no sense, and I did it way before them, and I hated it. You can make his hair long. You can do that. You can make him present and do, but I don't know if they just didn't want to, and that because Logan himself is not a very presentable character. He's just, I mean, you know, when especially when you see John Byrne drawings of Wolverine or Logan, hair everywhere, arms, legs, chest, it just there's hair everywhere. So he's not in today's, clean shaven, he's not as
Hmm.
presentable. So I don't know if that was something that they did on purpose to keep it with today's standards or what. But
Yeah. Like that's why I say movie with what's his name? What's his name? The new Blade movie. They should have kept Wesley Snipes as Blade, man. They should have just kept him. Or
see,
casted Michael J. White as Blade. Michael
I
J. White Blade, yeah.
actually, yeah, but I mean, really, for me, I think Wesley Snipes is better for Blade than Hugh Jackman was for Wolverine. I like Wesley Snipes as well. I thought he did a fantastic job.
That
I mean, I would
movie
have.
actually that Blade that the Blade actually was the start of the
The
Marvel
Midnight
Cinematic
Suns.
Universe. You know, that was the actual
Yeah,
start of all Marvel movies. Actually, the start of the actual New Age. You know what I mean?
it was actually, which they should have continued because they had some of the different characters like Ghost Rider. It was the
Hmm.
start of the whole Midnight Suns kind of storyline, which I would have loved to have seen because they've kind of put together, and they had all the various characters come together as the Avengers. I like to see the Midnight Suns thing. Would have been cool if they would have done, because that would have been neat to see what they could have really done to make something like that even more epic,
Yeah,
particularly with
because
with those characters.
but if you really look at it too, Avengers, to be honest, like it didn't go well with me. And why I say that is because for one, you got weak ass characters, Hawkeye, Thor, Incredible Hulk, weak. Some of the most fucking eye popping, crazy characters like Deadpool, Wolverine, Blade, Venom, Magneto. Like, come on, are you serious? Like, where's all this? Where's all this? Well, licensing and all that stuff. I get that, but
Yeah,
if you really want to be like, really want to throw shit to the fucking fan, you throw some shit to that fan, that shit gonna blow out some great shit.
yeah,
But see, when you're dealing with limited people, get limited shit. You get no greatness really. That like okay, it's like this. Did you know Deadpool and Wolverine was in the Avengers? People didn't know that. Wolverine was in the Avengers, but you hear me?
yeah. I'm
Deadpool
trying.
and Wolverine was in the Avengers.
As far as in the movies,
No, in the actual comics.
oh yeah, both of them were.
Yeah,
Both of them
and
were.
but I don't know why they're not putting them into the Avengers franchise because it's like you could have at least done that and help people, like like they messed up my childhood. They really did. They messed up my childhood when it comes to reading comics because it wasn't wasn't truly done the right way. Yeah, I get it. You put your flagship characters on, and you got little kids watching it, and mostly older folks that you got a lot of people that really didn't watch the movie, really didn't look at the comics and stuff like that, and a lot of people that really looked at the comics and stuff like that really didn't watch, don't really watch the Marvel movies like that. Not many.
It's also hard when you're a real fan of the comic books and
Hmm.
Hollywood gets their chance to do something. I mean, I love the fact that when Wolverine actually made it to the screen, but how is it that somebody like Iceman should have been long gone? The story and the cohesiveness with the Marvel universe didn't make sense. You had characters that were out of place. It didn't match up. I mean, it was worse than how DC had 10 billion different worlds, because
Hmm.
DC has, I know they tried to make everything into one and it didn't work, and then they wanted to go different directions, but Marvel did the same thing, and I don't know. Well, they sold the movie rights. They sold the movie
Hmm.
rights to X-Men and Spider-Man, and you know, I think the Spider-Man movies did a bit better to keep true, in my
Hmm.
opinion. And I'm just hoping that with the talk of another X-Men movie, maybe they can make it. I don't know. Being an old X-Men fan, it's hard for me because I want to see my old stuff, and I understand it changes. And maybe I'm hitting that grumpy age where, you know, "Oh, this isn't the way it was. This isn't how I like it. Why are you guys doing this? Where's my Geritol?" And but I've it I always think you can do it true enough, but you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. And
Like
and,
Gambit,
and
basically.
yeah,
They didn't really do shit to prove Gambit's worthiness of being a fucking badass.
yeah,
Gambit had on the top hat a trench coat, and he didn't look like the real Gambit.
yeah,
He didn't even embody no look. They just
no,
gave him cards and red eyes. That's it. No Gambit, no '90s looking Gambit,
yeah.
no.
I think in some ways Hollywood is afraid to be too comic book, to have that look, because oh my god, it's comic books. Well, the, the people you're trying to appease are the comic book fans. We want these characters that look like this. So,
Right, and that's why. See, and this is the thing: when you get people who see, I'm gonna tell you like this: people who haven't even read the Black Panther movie, well, now whoever read the Black Panther, whoever read the Black Panther comic book, have seen the Black Panther comic movie. Think about it. It's people like if you ask the person who do not read, who never read a comic book, well, who've seen a Black Panther comic, who've seen the Black Panther movie, right? Sorry about that. Who seen the Black Panther, who seen the Black Panther movie and went crazy for it, right? And you
yeah,
ask them, have you seen the Black Panther comic? And they're gonna tell you no, because that's all they know. It came from a comic book, but they down the actual comic book. They hate comics. Like what the fuck? How are you like a comic book movie, but down the comic book? The hell, but fail to read it. Like
yeah,
I don't get it.
yeah. It
But
should be.
see,
It should be helping people who haven't read a comic book go to your local store. And especially now in this day and age, we have the greatest thing in the world called the trade paperback. You can go and read the first 10, 15 issues of a character's existence, and just, you love the movie, come to our world, experience
hmm
it. get to live what this character is more than what the movie is. Because more times than not, the movies don't really bring the truth of what these characters are.
They don't. They make it look. They don't give you the real deal. They give you half of the truth and sell you a bunch of lies. That's basically what it is. They're selling you a bunch of bullshit, but telling you half of the truth, or
Yeah.
none of the truth at all, really. And that's what I'm like. Nah, I don't believe in this shit. That's why I barely watch it shit anyway.
Yeah.
But have you had fun?
Oh yeah. Before we go, just because you had made mention of the name, and I have to give my own shout out to him, Mr. Javier Lugo. He has done a couple of things for me that I commissioned from him, and I still stare at because just amazing. He did a Ghost Maker from Batman, and just amazing Ghost Maker that I have up and I stare at all the time. And then he ended up doing a one-off comic book, which is going to be a gift for Danhausen, pro wrestler, because I know somebody that Danhausen knows, and Danhausen is trying to get he wanted a comic book done, but because AEW has their things and Marvel couldn't work it out, whatever. So he's doing something with DC. So I had Javier do a Fantastic Four cover for Danhausen, so he will have his comic where he will be on Fantastic Four issue. He's a big fan of Doctor Doom. So I had Javier do that, and it came out freaking amazing. Javier is just amazing.
Yeah, he's actually one of my mentors, man. He is a big part of my experience in the comic book world,
Yeah.
and I, to all the people that's been watching, it's been well. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart, and I mean the world to me. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notifications bell to get all that is the In Your Face show. And thank you, Mr. Thomas Edward, for coming on the show and gracing us with your royalty presence.
Well, thank you, Your Highness, for having me.
Hey, all hail the king. But thank y'all. Thank y'all. It's been well. Thank you guys for all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen. And it's been the In Your Face show. And we out. Peace.